We're going to take a look at a couple more things in enhancement and retouching. We're going to look at a couple of color tools that we haven't looked at already. If we go up to image adjustments, we've already covered brightness and contrast. We've covered curves, which was a more advanced version of that. And we also looked at hue, saturation, brightness. There's a few more in here that are pretty useful. We also looked at photo filter too. Invert, posterize. Let's take a look at one called selective color. This one is really handy if you're doing a photo for publication in a newspaper, for example. What we can do is select an area by color. So we want to pick out, say, all the yellows in the picture, or all the greens or the cyans or whatever. I'm going to pick out all the cyan, so the light blue. Now, it doesn't really show us an outline of that, but if we just take one of these sliders and move it, you'll notice that the blue sheet metal of the car has changed considerably. So what it's doing is it's selecting everything that's heavy in cyan, and it's shifting it towards more magenta, more cyan, less yellow, however we want to do that. If you have a picture that's colored just right, you can actually do some pretty cool stuff like actually changing the color of the car without too much effort. What we have to watch out for is there is cyan everywhere in this picture, especially up in the trees and the sky and everything. So we have to make sure it's not affecting anything we don't want it to. The other cool thing, though, is we can select other color ranges, and where it really shines is whites and blacks. If we select white and just sort of reduce the amount of cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and yes, we're in an RGB photo, but this still applies, it just sort of purifies the white color there. If I click on black, usually what I like to do is take out a little bit of cyan. You'll notice it's affecting the whole sky. A little bit of magenta, a little bit of yellow, and then add more black to it. And what that does is it just really pumps up the black colors. And if you do it just right, you shouldn't notice any change here really in where this green is out here. You can see that that was changing dramatically, but when I put that black back in there, it didn't change much, but the tires sure did. So let's click OK on that. One more thing I want to show you in the color palette up here, or in the image adjustments, is the replace color tool. This one's kind of cool. What I can do is I can select a color. Let's say I want to change this yellow license plate to something else. If I click on that, you'll notice it's selected that color. And what's it going to do? Well, I can now go down here and tell it to replace that yellow with a different hue, saturation, and lightness. Now you'll notice it's very precise here as far as it selected just this one part of the tone here. If we change the, I don't know why they call it fuzziness, but change the fuzziness of that selection, you'll notice it starts to fill in more. Fuzziness works the same way as tolerance does. Now we have to be careful if we go too much tolerance. Suddenly it looks like we have an invasion of dogwoods or cherry blossoms, which is kind of nice, but not what we intended. The other thing you can do too is ahead of time highlight this particular part of the picture using a selection tool, and it will only affect what's in there. But that's a pretty neat tool. And again, this is one of those things you can use somewhat realistically here. So, hey, that's kind of neat. I like that green. So just kind of a neat way to shift the color dramatically in a couple of these palettes here. So I'm going to click cancel, and thanks for watching.